Hello, guys. Welcome to this. We're continuing with this course of analyzing and visualizing data with Power BI. So, as we are discussing DEX in this module, so last time, if you remember, we have covered a very good part, and we have covered the calculate function. We have understood a lot of things inside the using the calculate function. So today we'll move forward and we'll talk about some other points as well. I'm using some other data set for this example. The reason for that you will understand in some time. I'm using a very basic and simple dataset which I have created myself to make you understand some points here. It's a very small dataset, just having a order ID, product ID, quantity, unit price, a kind of sales data for just 4 or 5 entries. That's it. Because the reason is not loading the data. We have already learned all those things. We are not interested in that right now. We are interested in learning DEX functions. For few DEX functions, I want to show you some demo, which will be very useful for you. Okay. So I have already loaded the data set here into my Power BI, a new file of Power BI. And you can see here, these columns are already loaded. So everything absolutely fine. Okay. So now what I want, first of all, as I told you that whenever we talk about the new measures, whenever we have already understood what is the difference between a custom column, a new calculated column plus a new measure. What is the difference between these two? Okay. So as I already told, we should go for a new measure when we need, because it works on the fly and it always helps. Okay, in refresh time and all those things. So whenever we talk about new measures, so if definitely whenever we talk about the new measures in Power BI, the aggregators comes in picture. So what are the aggregators? Sum, average, maximum, minimum, count. These are basic aggregators which are always there and very simple functions. For example, if I just show you a demo for calculating a sum, we need to create a separate measure here for having my total sales, which is having my total sales. So here in this data set, we have something as maybe unit price, or we have the quantity, but we don't have a sales number column. So what is the problem with this data function? What I talk, let's first talk about, I want to create, it's already given me by default, it has given me a unit price, sum of unit price, but I want to calculate average of unit price separately. So it's very simple for me. What I'll do is I'll click on my table name. I'll click on new measure. I want to create a separate measure for average of unit price. So what I'll do is I'll go for a separate measure, average. I can name in a short form, average of unit price. Okay. So it's very simple for you. You just write the average function, the average function, and the average function you want to calculate for which column? Yes, I want to calculate for unit price. Done. I close it. I hit enter. I got it. So I'll get average of unit price. If I select it, I'll get the answer as well very simply. If I go for each and every product ID, I'll get it. I'll not put it here. I'll put it here. So it will give me, we have two product IDs in the sample, and we'll get average of unit price of both the IDs. It's 12 and 15. It's very simple and straightforward. We can do the same thing for sum as well. We can do same thing for some maximum. We can do same thing for minimum, count, everything. These are very straightforward aggregators. But these aggregators have a little bit of problem. What the problem is? The problem is it can just be applied on a direct column. It can just be applied on a direct value, not on expression. For example, here, if you look at this data set, if I go back to Excel and if I give you a look on this data set, here we have something at unit price, we have quantity. So the sales amount will be something like the quantity multiplied by unit price. So I want to do something like that. I want to create a new column with total sales. I want to create a new measure of total sales. Okay, which should be a multiplication of quantity multiplied by unit price. So it will become 120 here, something like, let me write a formula here. So it will be unit price multiplied by this quantity. Done. We'll get 120, and if we drag it down, we'll get for each and every one. And finally, the sum of the total sales should be 1560. That I want. I want to create this kind of a measure. Okay, where I can get the multiplication expression between my two columns, between the quantity and the unit price, and I want to calculate the total sales in such a way. Let's go back here. If we go back to our Power BI data set, if we try to do this using the sum function, let's try this. What I'll do is I'll click on the sales function. I'll click on the new measure once again, and at this time I'll rename it as total sales. You can do it for average sales, total sales, or whatever. But right now I'm doing it for total sales for first time. So I'm applying a sum function, straightforward sum function. Can you see it here? It just needs a single column name. It just needs a single column name. I can calculate the total sales by quantity. I want to calculate total sales by unit price. I can do it. It will give me sum of unit price. That's fine. But it will not allow me to multiply the unit price. That's which I want. I want to multiply the unit price with the quantity. If I write any other expression here, it will not allow me to do that. If I write the quantity column name here, I close the bracket, hit enter, it will throw an error. It has been given by an error. It doesn't accept an expression. It will not accept any expression inside the sum function. Similarly, it is same thing for all other functions as well. So I'm deleting this from model because it's an incorrect measure. The same problem is with other measures as well, like for other aggregators as well. We were talking about the other aggregators, so at average, maximum, minimum count, we will get the same problem everywhere. These aggregators are very simple and straightforward, but they have two problems inside that. The one is, first of all, they can only be applied on a number. They cannot be applied on a string. That's okay, because generally we don't apply the sum function on a string. We don't apply the average function on a string. Max min we can apply on a string as well, but that's fine. But the second problem is big worse. The second problem is, it is asked when we need to apply a aggregator on expression, which I have just shown you a demo. It will not allow to do that. How to resolve that problem in DEX? Then how to resolve this problem in DEX? I want to do the total sales as I have shown you. So how to do that? For that, what you have is, if you go to sales and if you click on new measure once again, and instead of using a sum function, this time I'll use a sum x function. There is one more function named as sum x. If I write sum, you can see we have four kind of functions. So one of them is sum x. So select sum x. Sum x needs two arguments. The one is table name, on which you want to apply, in which you want to create this expression. So I want to create this expression in my sales table, give the table name, and now your expression. So my expression is, I want to multiply the unit price. So it will go to the unit price, sales unit price, multiplied by, not this one, sorry. We'll change it here. Multiply by what? Multiply by quantity, sales quantity. Done. We got the way we wanted. Hit enter. It will give you your answer. Okay. So we get the total sales perfectly as we wanted. Now we can go ahead and select the total sales. Very simply, it will give us the total sales value. And now you can go ahead and apply with different kind of products, whatever you want. I want to apply product name. So for total sales for my shoes, total sales for my socks, I'll get everything, whatever needed. But that's a very, very important expression to apply sum x for these kind of expressions. When you need to calculate something on the fly, the total of some expression on the fly with the measure, you need to go for sum x function. You cannot use a simple aggregator sum function over there. Okay, let me give you one more demo for average x. So what I'll do is, I'll calculate the average of my sales. So what I need to do is, I'll go into new measure once again. I cannot calculate using an average function. So let's say I give it name of average of sales. So I cannot use a simple average function over here. And if I go for average function, it will ask me a single column name. Once again, the same problem, a single column name. So I cannot give it like a unit price because it will be incorrect. That definitely it is not correct. Now we have the total sales, but if you don't have the total sales, then you should go for how will you calculate using average x? So go for average x, hit enter, give the table name sales, rate, comma, expression. So what is your expression? Once again, I want to calculate with the unit price, multiply by what? Multiply by my quantity. So got it, enter, done, hit enter, it will be done. So similarly, now we'll get, if we go anywhere and we create a new measure, we'll get the averages. So we'll get the average of sales, this one, done. And we get from product name as well, very simply, no problem. Okay. So that's a straightforward, simple point, which we use for sum x function and average x function. And these are seriously very, very important functions, because it is allowing us to use the aggregators in the context that we want, to apply expressions of what we want. Okay. So I'll give you some assignments here to calculate the total number of profit. We have a profit sum here, but that will show me the total profit. If I just select a total profit here, for example, if I go here and I select profit here, the total profit, that's done. I convert it into a card. So this is a total profit number, but this is a profit which is something like shown be here. This is not the correct way of calculating the profit. What we want is we want to calculate the total profit as the total sales minus the profit. A simple straightforward point. Unit price multiplied by quantity minus profit. That's it. Unit price we should call it this column as a margin, not a profit. We can call this column as a margin, not a profit. I just created it manually, so little bit point. But I hope you can understand it. Just refresh it here. First of all, we need to remove it because we have already selected one of them. So now click on refresh. The column profit of the table wasn't found. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to click on the settings, the data source settings, change source, browse your file, go to sample data, done. Okay, hit close. Profit is still coming. I can rename it as well simply. Maybe that is much better. Yeah. We generally need something like that. If we don't have, we have to remove all these visuals to refresh the column name. We should not have any visual, otherwise it will not allow us to do that. Okay, we have to remove all the visuals. So now what my point was, I want to create, I want to calculate the profit, and the profit should be something like that: the unit price multiplied by quantity minus the margin, and then we'll apply a sum on that. So definitely you have to go for, you have two options for that. Okay, for these as well, as I have created total sales. So if you see the expression of my total sales, it was something like that. I can do the sales unit price multiplied by sales quantity, and then I am applying a sum function on that. I can do it in some other way. What is the second way for doing it? But that is not preferred way. But how? Let me tell you what is the second way of doing it. Click on new column. Okay, the new column name is, let's say I'm saying it as a total. Maybe sum of sales, not sum of sales. I'll call it as a total price, something like that. Total. So it will be something, because it's a new column. So what we are doing here, we will create an expression. What our expression will be? Our expression will be giving us quantity. To use the quantity, yes, and multiply it with what? Multiply it with unit price. Give the unit price, sales unit price. Done. Hit enter. It will be done. It will create a new column for you with the name of total price. Now later on, what you can do is you can go ahead and create a simple measure. So click on sales. I'm removing the total sales right now because we have already created with this name. So I'm deleting from model. Let me show you the same way. Now how I can use this total price column and how I can do it. So let me remove this chart as well. How can I do this? So what I'll do is I'll click on table name, go on to new measure. Now I don't need sum x. I can simply do it from sum function as well. Okay, so sum, and then you give your column name as total price. That's it. And you just close it, done. You will get the answer. The same answer, you will get it from here as well. But here, first of all, you are doing two things. That first, you are creating a separate calculated column, and then you are creating a measure on that. Second point, as I already told you, the calculated columns should not be preferred because it is definitely loaded row by row into our data set, and it will take a lot of time. It will take a lot of time to load the data. It will take a lot of time to refresh the data. Whenever we have a huge data set, it's a small data set for demo purpose only. But in real project examples, they will be having a huge data set. Then we should not go for calculated columns. Okay, so that's why I'll suggest you to prefer the sumx function. Practice on that and get it done. Great. We have some more. Like for example, if I go here and I click on new measure and I click on average of product name, something like that. There is a function called as average A. Can you see this average A function? The average A function returns the average of arithmetic mean of the values in a column, handles text and non-numeric values. That's a wonderful thing. It when we need to apply average on the non-numeric value, that means the text value, A, B, C, D. If you need to calculate the, generally we don't need it, but if you need it, then you should go for average A function. So average A, on which column? Definitely I'll apply it on product name. So I'll go ahead and put it the column name function, close it. It will give me the average of the product name. So got it. Now you go ahead and select this. You will get it something like that. It's a numerical value or something, whatever the names you have accordingly. So this function helps to calculate the average. We need to calculate the maximum out of maximum of sales. So it's a very simple and straightforward function. Max. Okay, so we have once again three functions: max, max A, and max X. I hope you can understand yourself now. The max will be for just directly calculating the maximum value out of your data set, out of your numerical column, just a single column. Max X, once again, a beautiful expression to calculate from an expression. Okay, a largest numerical value or the largest string value. Okay, it can be applied on a numerical value as well and a string value as well with an expression. Not strict to apply on a single column. We can apply it on an expression. Max A, we can apply only on a string. It will not uh, uh, it will be applied on a text column to apply and calculate something maximum out of a text. I hope you understand the ASCII codes and all that stuff. So it will accordingly calculate the maximum out of a string value. So these three are also very important functions. Similarly, we have some others as well, like we have total count of sales. So we can apply count function as well. We have once again have the count A, count A, and count X. Okay, count A, and count X. These three are very important functions. And there are some important with distinct count as well. I'll talk about that in coming up of this module. There will be getting a little bit different context. But right now, just keep in mind count A, and count X. So if I summarize these points here, if I summarize the points here, where we have discussed a very, very important point here in this part of this module, that what is the difference between sum and sum X? What is the difference between average, average X, and average A? Max, maximum A, maximum X. What is the difference between them? So I'm summarizing that the sum function, if you are doing a sum function can normally operate on a single column only. It cannot operate on an expression. Okay, if you need to calculate the sum of expression, you need to go for sum X function. Same thing for average. Average can be applied on a normally on a function direct on a column directly, simple, a single column. If you need to apply it on an expression, you have to go for average X function. Average A is used to calculate the string average. When we need to apply the average, we need to calculate the average of string based on ASCII code values. We should go for average A function. Similarly for max, max A, and max X. Same thing for count A, and count X. So these are aggregate functions. But how the aggregators, we need to use the X functions with that. I hope you are clear with this. Go ahead and practice this. What the reason why I have used this data set, I hope you are clear. The reason for that, it's very simple and straightforward. That we are not having any such column here, and I don't want to touch them. The already created columns, I don't want to touch them because they are very helpful. So because we are already creating a report from here, so I don't want to go and touch them for demo purpose. For demo, I have used a simple other data set, a small, to make you understand the points and get it clear. Okay. So thank you. I hope you will practice all of this and you will come up with your questions. Go ahead, take care of yourself and practice all these. Thank you so much.